Why, hi there. So, I've been grinding a lot, hence why I haven't been making a lot of videos. But I wanted to show you something that I recently ran into while my climb to Plat 1. So, I've been playing exclusively Endymion Mythical Beast for the past month while Master Duel was out. And that's the only deck that I swore by. And obviously, you're going to see a lot of meta decks right now, especially Bird Up, Tri Brigades, and sometimes LL. Eldritch, Dryton, you know the drill. So all those decks are definitely hard to go against, but I found one card that kind of helps with a lot of things, that kind of shuts down a lot, and can possibly bring some spice to your deck. And I'm talking about the Rock. But maybe we're not talking about the same rock. I'm talking about the rock. You'll see in a bit. Let's take a look at this replay that I did right here. Alright, well, I'm going to pause for just a bit because you probably have noticed. What the heck is this card? Well, this is the rock that I'm talking about. Amano Iwato. This card translates to the Heavens Rock Cave. So I ran into this on the Endymion Discord, recommended by a video posted by a YouTuber named Noxx, and I'll leave his or her video in the description. But basically, this card is pretty awesome. All monster effects can't activate their effects, and we're talking about not just the field, but the hand and graveyard. So if you ran into Eldritch or if you ran into Bird Up, you probably know the significance of this. Now, the only con that I ran into this so far is that it costs normal summon, and it also affects you as well. And not to mention that it also is subjugated to vulnerability against spells and traps. So let me just show you the pros of this. So I'll fast forward on their turn, but I'll slow down on mine so you can see what exactly is happening. So while my opponent is running through all the combos, immediately after opening up with this hand, I think to myself, okay, so I can probably shut this person down and try to summon a bunch of monsters and do some beatdowns. Alright, sorry about that. So, first thing I did was summon this guy. Now, looking at their field, this card, I only see this as a bounce, meaning they have the capability of pushing one card back to my hand, but the fact that I have Amano Iwato basically negates that. So it acts as a pseudo skill drain. And you see Appaloosa, basically a monster negate, but again, she can't really do anything because I have the Rock. And so I'm basically running through my combos. My priority right now is to basically get a lot of monsters out and beat down. But I'm concerned about that trap card. However, if you play against a lot of Bird Up decks, you probably know that they only run possibly one of two traps. Either Infinite Impermanence, which means that I probably set this in the absolute worst spot, or it could be that one card that summons a bunch of their Tri Brigades and does a lot of shenanigans to link summon another thing. Well, let's just take a look. So I have enough, and I summon this guy just as a precaution, just in case if that's for some reason even a forbidden droplet, who knows. So I'm running through all my combos, and I'm trying to search for my spell and trap popper, which is this bird right here. This bird will fight against their bird, or spell and trap per se. So I'm doing what I can to force them to reveal it, because I don't want it to be anything else. And of course, it's that card I mentioned, Tri Brigade Revolt. So they're summoning a bunch of their monsters, and they're going to be link summoning into their Link 4. But they can't activate their effect because, again, Amano Iwato shuts that down. That was basically a super lucky draw because right now my thought process was how was I going to get rid of a 3k monster on the field if I can't activate my own effects. Now, here's the neat thing. If you're playing a pendulum deck, more specifically Mythical Beast Endymion, you know for a fact that you don't have to rely on just the monster effect. You can rely on the pendulum effect as well. So throughout this whole time, I've been keeping count of how many spell counters I have, because now I can do this. And basically pop for game. And this person surrendered. So you definitely see the capabilities of Amano Iwato. Now let me show you another example. All right. Now, personally, nowadays, I usually like to go second because it's an absolute ginormous buff to you if you draw it. If you go first, I see it as a -1 for you because you... See, here's the thing. If you summon it onto the field, that basically costs your normal summon, which could be bad depending on the type of plays that you want to make. And so I like to have this just as a surprise factor, because normally nowadays the only cards that you see that run a bunch of back rows are either rogue decks or eldritch, and I'm talking about a lot of back rows. So if this person, hypothetically speaking, was an eldritch player, they would put down skill drain, or they would put down some other wacky cards that basically negates the summoning of this guy. So again, that's kind of the con of this, but I'll let this person play it out. So from last game that we just saw, from the last replay, the person put out Appaloosa, which was a monster negate. Now, this person is playing the other version of Berta, which is Tri-Brigade. I'm going to be honest, I don't know how to pronounce this. The L-Birds, basically. And so this version has this card right here. And so whenever I see this card, I immediately think that it's a special summon bouncer, which it exactly is that case. But whenever I go against these decks nowadays, I always see them pair up with Simorg, and then afterwards they would probably summon out the Wind Barrier statue, which this card can absolutely go over. Or they might go over, they might summon that other bird that bounces back another card. Again, once you summon this card on the field and they don't have any traps, they can't activate their Ash Blossoms if they have any. They can't activate all of that. Now, turn 1 for my opponent, they end up with a special summon bouncer. And a monster negate. Almost a trifecta. If they summoned out, like, let's say a spell or trap negate, then still this card can negate all of that. So again, I normal summon this first, basically to stop all of that, and so I can start my combo, and I'll just let it play out. And again, same play. Thankfully, in Master Duel, Servant is 3, so the likelihood of you opening with this is pretty high. Going over all of this, the reason why I have Jackal King out is because I want it to be spell counter fodder. And so I summoned Endymion. Unfortunately, I thought I could pop this guy, but I didn't read. emphasis on reading. Now, what I did over here was that I got rid of my Amano because now the threat of any monster effects is basically out of the window. I was basically risking the fact that they had some sort of hand trap, but thankfully the fact that there wasn't any prompt that showed up meant that I can continue on with my combo. And so I summon Unicorn. So if I can't kill this guy, I might as well bounce it back. And now they tried to negate that, but I can negate their negate. And so from this point on, I'm trying to put out as much negates as I can because I got rid of my Amano, so I have to somehow fill the board so that on their turn, they basically can't really do much. So I have my monster negate right here, I have another monster negate, and I have a spell and trap negate. Now, on their turn, if they did a Forbidden Droplet or if they somehow got rid of all my cards, negate-wise, then that would have sucked. Now, I'm not sure if you noticed, Max C, they had it in their hand. Had I not summoned Amano, they would have drawn 50,000 cards, probably deck out, but still. It would have been a disaster for me to try to go over whatever potential combo they had. Thankfully, that wasn't the case. And so from this point on, I basically was trying to negate everything that they did, trying to make sure that they weren't able to do anything, and that's game. So I think this deck with Amano going second is very, very powerful. And I'll show you my deck list right now. I made some changes, and I'll click on every one of these cards so that you're able to take a look. I only run 2 copies of Amano because sometimes you're not guaranteed to go second. And again, I'd like to thank the YouTuber who brought this to the attention. Supposedly, according to the people over in the Endymion subreddit, or not subreddit, Discord, my apologies, they said that it's a really common side deck card. But as you know, in Master Duel, there is no best of 3 yet. So in the best of 1, I want to make sure that I have at least an opportunity to mess up the opponent on any potential strategy that they do. And it's kind of odd that I still stick with Thousand Eyes, but sometimes I can't wait for the opponent to make their move so that I can use Millenium-Eyes' effect. So that's why I just use Thousand Eyes to basically snatch it away. And I finally have enough UR to be able to buy Electromite. So that was nice. And that's pretty much it. Again, Amano is such a wild card, but so far it's been working for me in my deck. And if you want to see this more in depth, definitely check out the video that I'll be linking in the description. The YouTuber did such a fantastic job, and I even did a short conversation with them in regards to why they don't run Magical Abductor. You probably see it in their comment section. So this is definitely something to consider. But other than that, maybe you have your luck with Amano Iwato in a different deck, not Endymion. If you have any thoughts, please leave them in the comment section, and I'll definitely respond to it whenever I can. Thank you very much, and I hope that you enjoy the rock.